So to me, it's this balance between waking up every day and being totally in love with yourself, not in an arrogant way, but I love myself the way I would want to love other people or have them love me. I love my life, even though it's got all sorts of challenges and flaw, right? I live in a state of love and joy and peace.
As we begin the podcast today, feel your angels surround you and sing to you. You are a miracle. Your life is a miracle. The good that you choose to do today is a miracle received by other souls. And just because you're you, God, Universe, Source sends you big and small miracles this day and every day. Right now, invite your angels to guide you. Ask God, Universe, Source for what your heart wants. See it as if you're in the future and what you want is already yours now. And so it is. I love you and I'm so grateful you're here that I have some freebies for you. I worked with the angels to create 31 meditations that are going to make you a magnet for miracles. Get them free at theangelmedium.com. Want to be my angel? Leave this podcast 5 stars or a 5-star positive review, and I'll enter you into a drawing to win a free reading with me. Use the form at theangelmedium.com/contact to send me your contact info so I know who to call when you win. Use that same contact form to submit your angel stories, what you're struggling with, or a question, which I'll answer on this podcast or Instagram at Angel Podcast. That's theangelmedium.com/contact. Thank you for being my angel. And remember, angels and miracles are your birthright, and they're activated when you believe. So ask, believe, and receive your miracles. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Angels and Awakening podcast. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancis. And friends, you have heard me talk about this before, the Miracle Morning. We have on Hal Elrod today. Hal, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Anytime, Julie. I mentioned earlier, I had to reschedule a couple of times, but we are finally here in God's perfect timing.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So every Thursday we talk about angel stories, and this is going to air on a Monday. But every Thursday we talk about angel stories, and you have this incredible story of you were in a very severe car wreck that pulled the car apart into 2 pieces. And I feel like your journey begins here, and I want to start here if that's okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Your heart stopped breathing. I think you coded a couple of times after you were resuscitated. But I'm also wondering if in your story that you're going to share, if you saw any angels or if you felt presence as you were experiencing that.
Yeah, thank you for creating the space to share this. When I was 20 years old, I was driving home from giving a speech at a company sales conference. I was a Cutco sales rep at the time. And I was driving a brand new Ford Mustang. I had bought my first new car a few weeks prior. I was, on top of the world, if you will. And that night, a drunk driver got on the freeway heading against traffic the wrong way. And he was in a full-size Chevy truck, much larger than my little Ford Mustang. And he crossed over the median and hit my car head on at 70 miles per hour. And it sent my car spinning into oncoming traffic. And a few seconds later, the car behind me crashed into my driver's side door at 70 miles per hour. And instantaneously, I broke 11 bones and I slipped into a coma. Just minutes later, my friend Jeremy found me at the scene of the accident. And when he was talking to me, I wasn't responsive. My head was slouched over. I was covered in blood on my face from breaking my eye socket. My ear was almost completely severed. Again, I broke 11 bones. And so he took my pulse. I had a pulse. He thought I was dead at first, and I was alive, but I was unresponsive. And the paramedics took an hour to cut me out of the car. And when they did, I had lost so much blood that's when I died. My heart stopped beating for roughly 6 minutes while they loaded me onto the medevac helicopter and attempted to perform CPR and hooked me up to an IV and got blood back in me. And during those 6 minutes, I don't remember anything. And I think what it was is when you're in a head-on collision, it's a very common brain injury where your brain and your skull are traveling 70 miles per hour. And when you hit head on, your skull stops traveling 70 miles per hour, but your brain hits the front of your skull at that speed. And so my frontal lobe, which houses all of your short-term memory as well as your judgment, that was completely crushed from that impact. And so I don't remember about 2 weeks out of my life. I don't remember. My last memory is, but I do have there is more to this answer. So, but getting onto the freeway before about 10 minutes before I was in the car accident is my last memory. And then my first memory is a week after I came out of the coma. It's kind of fuzzy as I start to remember different things happening. And although I don't recall any kind, like I didn't see a light, or I don't know if I saw a light or there was any experience like that. I have, through vision questing and plant medicine experiences and, deep meditations, I have gotten a very strong sense that that was a very purposeful experience, that I was supposed to go through it. It was part of my journey. I was supposed to learn and learn from it and help other people, which is kind of what gave birth to, my life's work as a speaker and an author and so on and so forth. The other thing I'll share is when I was 8 years old, my baby sister Amory died in front of me. I woke up to my mother screaming across the hall, and I ran across the hall, and my mom was performing CPR on my 18-month-old sister and, compressing her chest and breathing into her mouth. And she died that morning. And so my family, we believe that my sister is an angel and that she is watching over us. So there is that angelic component. Her name was Amory, which is a very angelic name. And so that I don't have a recollection of what happened during those 6 minutes, but I have a deeper knowing, which to me is in some ways more powerful. If I was like, yeah, I saw a light, it was cool. It's like, no, my life's purpose was born from that adversity. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you go from this experience, you start doing the work that you're doing, and then you come into a very rare form of cancer. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about this, because your journey is unlike any I've ever heard before. And I think it's such a powerful story to tell.
Yeah, thank you. At 37 years old, so 17 years after the car accident, life is great. Miracle Morning, I had published that book. It's taken off. It's translated in other languages. I'm traveling the world, sharing this message. Like, life's almost too good to be true. And be careful if you put energy into too good to be true, because I think I might have been. I don't know. But I woke up in the middle of the night one night, struggling to breathe. I was like just gasping for air. And my wife, sleeping next to me, woke up and propped up a bunch of pillows behind me, and I had to sleep sitting up. And the next day I went to the ER, and they misdiagnosed me with pneumonia because it looked like a big mass on my lung. And it was actually pleural effusion, I believe is what it's called, where my lung there was a fluid outside of the lung that was building up, and it was collapsing the lung. And for the next, I think, week and a half or so, I had to go to the ER every other day and have anywhere from 1 to 2 liters of fluid drained from my lung. And then I'm going to see other doctors and get second opinions, and nobody can figure out what's wrong. And finally, I ended up being diagnosed with a very rare aggressive form of cancer. It's called acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And out of the millions of people with cancer, I think there's 6,000 people that have that cancer. Basically it attacks your organs and shuts your organs down. So I went to MD Anderson Cancer Hospital 3 hours away in Houston, and after they did a little more digging, they went, oh, wow, not only is your lung collapsing, your heart is on the verge of failing, and we might have to perform open heart surgery, and your kidneys are failing. And I was diagnosed with this acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which has a 20 to 30% survival rate. So of all the people that get that cancer, particularly 70 to 80% of them die from it. And they die very quickly in a matter of weeks. Most people are misdiagnosed like I was, don't get a second opinion, and then their organs shut down and they die. And if I wouldn't have got the second opinion, which thank you to my wife, because she was like, go get a second opinion, you're not getting better. I'd be dead. And so yeah, so that was, and we can go anywhere you want with that, how I approach the cancer, how I beat the cancer, whatever you want to go with that, I'm happy to.
Well, I think that there is just so much out there within the spiritual community of, you know, if you get a sickness or a disease or an illness, or if you have something bad happen to you, that you manifested this, you brought this upon yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't see it that way. I see that the soul has various different ways that it can go in this lifetime. But to your point, and what you said before, we can choose to take everything that we've gone through and use it to help and to serve and to become more of ourselves. Take us there and what you
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, and I'll go back, just sharing my sister after she passed away. My mother was 29 years old. My dad was 30. They were devastated. As an 8-year-old, I wasn't devastated because I was more confused. Like, what does this mean? I don't understand it, right? But my parents were devastated, and rather than wallow in self-pity and let it ruin their lives, they both turned their pain into purpose. Within less than a year, my mother was leading a support group for other parents who had lost children. So she took her experience, and she had been reading books on grief and thought, wow, I've been really working on actively healing from this. I can help other people, I think, do the same. So she starts a support group. My dad starts a fundraiser to raise money for the hospital that attempted to save my sister's life. And I didn't know it at the time, but those seeds were planted that when you go through adversity, almost it's your responsibility to overcome it so that you can help other people overcome their adversity. And that was when I came out of the coma. That was one of the first questions I asked is, how can I use this experience? How can I approach this experience to help other people? In fact, I even told my dad, I said, Dad, I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker ever since I started selling Cutco. And I didn't have much to talk about. Like, I've had kind of a normal life. You and Mom were good parents. And, maybe this is why this is happening to me. And I want to take a second I want to make a distinction here. We've all heard the cliche adage, everything happens for a reason, right? And usually when someone says that to us, we're going through a difficult time, we roll our eyes, we're like, shut up. Like, I don't want to hear that right now. I'm hurting, right?
Yeah.
But this is my spin on that, is that everything happens for a reason, but it's our responsibility to choose the most empowering reasons for the challenges that we face. And when my car accident happened, I asked myself, why did this happen? But not from a disempowered victim mindset of like, why did this happen? It's not fair. I don't deserve it. It's like, why did this happen? What am I supposed to do with this? Mm-hmm. And if you can approach your adversity, and we all can, from that perspective of turning pain into purpose, of how can you learn, grow, and evolve and become a better version of yourself through the challenges you're facing, and then how can you take what you learn and help other people get through, minimize their suffering, get through what they're going through. That enables you to find meaning, purpose, and actually smile, be grateful. Like, I was grateful when I was going through the cancer journey. In fact, there's a scene in the movie. For those that don't know, The Miracle Morning is not only a book that I wrote, but we created a documentary. We spent 6 years filming it. Halfway through filming it, I got cancer. And I called our director and I said, hey, the movie's on hold, man. I have only a 20 to 30% chance of surviving. I got to focus on healing. That's my only goal right now. And he's a friend of mine, Nick. We've become close. And he said, Hal, he asked me a lot of questions. He was there for me. And then he said, look, I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but this is the movie now. Like, I need to come film you beating cancer. He said, I know you're going to keep doing your Miracle Morning and you're going to apply the Miracle Morning practices to beating cancer. He goes, I already know. I know you. He said, we need to film this to help other people. And I was like, oh, let me talk to my wife. This is not something I was thinking. But we did that. And remind me what your question was, because I was tying it in. There was a point here.
Well, just not that like, you don't manifest all these bad things, right? Like, your soul has different ways it can go in this lifetime. And to your point before, you can take whatever adversity you go through and use it to create a message or to help serve other people in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that to me, like the bigger the adversity, the bigger the opportunity for growth and contribution, period. If you write down anything today, that might be one thing to write down. The bigger the adversity, the greater the opportunity for growth and contribution. And those are two human values, right? That are higher on the scale of like fulfillment. When you live your life from a place of how can I learn, grow, and become better, and then how can I contribute and help other people, that's the sweet spot for fulfillment.
Join me for these upcoming events. We're hosting the Angel Reiki Mediumship School live in person again this fall and spring. Event dates are up at theangelmedium.com/events. Space is limited. Reserve your spot today. And as a bonus, I'm giving you access to our 8-week online Angel Reiki Mediumship School so that you can get started as soon as you register. Don't want to come in person? That's okay. You can still earn your certifications in mediumship, angel messages, and energy healing in our 8-week online program with a new online class and Zoom calls starting on the 1st of each month. Did you know one Wednesday evening of each month, I host a free group prayer event open to all. And right afterwards, I teach you a new tool to work with your angels or loved ones in heaven. Sign up today free at theangelmedium.com/events, and we'll send you the Zoom link to participate. You'll also find details on our upcoming spiritual retreat, October 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2024 at theangelmedium.com/events. So excited to work with you. Now back to the show. Well, and you just heard on a sweet like word that we use a lot here, which is fulfillment, because we've had all the happiness experts on, and what they say is that happiness isn't what we think it is, it's fulfillment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And that can come through the most difficult experiences in life. We're all pleasure seekers. That's our mistake, right? We're seeking pleasure. We're seeking short-lived emotional highs as opposed to conditioning states of consciousness. And that's a total tangent. I don't want to go too far into it unless you want to, or we come back to it. But just what you brought up is that emotional states are fleeting. They are short-lived. You can be happy 1 minute and then you get bad news. They're usually dependent on outside forces that are often out of our control. States of consciousness are unwavering states of being. So if you choose, an example of a state of consciousness is peace. When you live your life in a state of acceptance, where you accept reality exactly as it is, that's how you allow yourself to be at peace with the things that you can't change. When you live in a state of unconditional acceptance, you are allowing yourself to live in a state of consciousness that is unwavering, unmovable peace. And then no matter what happens to you, you accept life exactly as it is. I accepted my car accident, didn't resist it or wish it were different, because that would have been futile. Wishing it were different would have simply created emotional pain for me to the degree that I wished it were different. But by choosing to accept my reality exactly as it is, I'm in a car accident, I broke 11 bones. If I never walk again and I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, and that's my reality, I get to choose to be the happiest, most grateful I've ever been while I experience the most difficult times of my life. I applied that same state of consciousness to my cancer. I can't change that I have cancer. This sucks. I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to maintain unwavering faith and put forth extraordinary effort to beat the cancer while I'm totally at peace and I'm grateful for all the lessons that I'm going to learn. So that's all a big convoluted way of saying that it's not what happens to you in life. It is how you interpret it and how you respond to it.
I love it. It's amazing. And I think that you are just the, poster boy, for lack of a better word, of taking that challenge and turning it into something. So I love the Miracle Morning, which I found afterwards. I don't know, you're a spirit, I think you're a Christian person. I'm a spiritual person. But I feel like God Universe Source is always working with us and bringing in different things. And, I don't know if you've ever had this where you know that they're trying to teach you some lesson, and then they bring you a book and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I just channeled that through."
Totally.
So, when you go through the miracle morning, there's 6 different parts: silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, writing, and this all happens really fast in the morning, which I love because I feel like you can start your day and just know that you've got something done. But not only that, to me, the miracle morning, I see it through this spiritual lens of the silence is really getting into the state of oneness, which I
Mm,
think is so important for us to see our connectedness to one another and to just feel the energy of God, universe, source, and our soul self. The affirmations I call mirror work, but just talking to yourself and building yourself up with what it is that you need to change fear into hope for yourself. Visualizations, which is really what the work of the angels do. The angels can bring hope to human beings because they show you a vision of what it is that they want you to see in the future. And that's what we're working towards to get to that point. Groundedness I get out of exercise. Just moving my body makes me feel grounded and here and embodied. Love the reading part and writing. I do a lot of automatic writing to connect.
mm.
And automatic writing is just, you could kind of think about it like trying to think about how to explain it to a Christian perspective. Um, Praying and then writing back an answer from God to your own prayers.
Yes, I do
Yeah.
that all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and I will say, just for clarification,
Yeah.
I would say I ride the line between Christian and spiritual, meaning I attend a
Okay.
Christian church, and I embody the values of Christianity. But I also study Buddhism, and you name it. I mean, any religion. To me,
Yay.
religion is all just humans' way of trying to understand and explain and wrap their head around the God, consciousness, the universe, the unexplainable,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so to me, every religion, again, it's just different interpretations and different approaches that humans have come up with to try to figure this out. And so I believe that, learning something from each and every religion. I'll give you an example. I have my 2 people on my team, Josh and Brianna, that are Jewish, and I've asked them, I'm just curious. I'm like, tell me about your religion, tell me about your traditions, right? And in some ways, I've been almost like I've had a religious envy, like, man, I wish I would have grown up Jewish. Like, what a
Yeah.
cool, religion. And like one of my favorite questions is it useful?
Mhm.
Right? Is it useful, right? And if it is, then that makes sense. So anyway, so just wanted to say that
No,
there is no
I
black and white
totally
with me.
agree with you,
No,
totally agree, and actually wanted to be Jewish growing up as a kid for a while.
nice,
Some people are very sensitive to that, so I try and
totally,
always approach it
totally.
with, like, humbly.
Yep, yep, yep. No, I'm
Yeah.
sensitive to it too because yeah, people sometimes it's blasphemy. Wait, you can't say that you embody Christian values, but you also are learning about Buddhism and what that doesn't So I'm like, just makes sense to me. I'd always
Yeah.
thought it was weird that and I again this may offend some people, but I always thought it was weird that like the default kind of a default religious belief is typically there's something like 3,000 religions and it's like no, ours is the right one
Right.
and the other 2,999 are wrong. Like, right? Like they're off a little bit. Like what? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Right,
but,
right.
but how come we all think that?
Yeah. No, I love how spirituality brings it together. We're
Yes,
all it's all the same thing and there's just different parts. And to your point, you find different pieces that are beneficial in all of them.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did the miracle morning come to you? How did you channel this through?
I definitely channeled it, and I love that. I always say that. I always say I don't take credit for this. This was a big time. I channeled this. This was like God gave this to me to bring it to millions of people around the world, and I didn't know. I felt overwhelmed by that responsibility, and it just eventually, it's come to pass. But so 2008, the U.S. economy crashes, and at that point, I had left Cutco. I had started my own business as a coach. I was coaching entrepreneurs and salespeople, and I was like flying high. Like I'd bought my first home. I had built my business up to where I was earning a substantial income, from zero to like $80,000 a year back in 2008. And it was on its way up. I'm like, I'm going, I'm going to, keep going. And I lost, as the economy crashed, over half of my coaching clients were affected by the economy, and they just said, Hal, I can't afford coaching. I have to drop out. And so losing over half of my clients, meaning over half my income, was devastating for me. I couldn't pay my mortgage. I had to, I stopped the mortgage. My house was foreclosed on by the bank. I went from being a debt-free person where I paid off my credit card every month to accumulating $52,000 in credit card debt in 6 months, just to pay the bills, just to put groceries on the, food in the car, or gas in the car, food on the table. You get it?
And food in the car too, to get to the house.
Yeah. And I got really depressed. Like I felt so scared and hopeless. Like, okay, I'm losing my house. I don't know where I'm going to live. I don't have money. I'm in debt. My credit score that I worked so hard to get into the, almost 800, it was down to 500. I was just falling apart. And I went on a run one day. I wasn't a runner, but a friend of mine said, Hal, if you're not exercising every day, you're not putting yourself in a peak physical and mental and emotional state to solve your problems. He said, you need to exercise every day, go for a run. I said, I hate running. He said, what do you hate worse, running or your circumstances? I said, okay, I'll go for a run tomorrow. And he said, listen to a self-help or a business audiobook so that you can learn something while you're in a heightened state, you got more blood to the brain, and then go home and implement it. I said, okay, anything I should start with? And he said, start with this Jim Rohn audio that changed my life when I was younger. So I listened to this Jim Rohn audio, and one quote blows my mind and becomes the catalyst for the miracle morning. Jim Rohn said, and if anybody's taking notes, write this one down. Your level of success, or your levels, plural, like every area of life, your levels of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development. And I had to Google what is personal development, because it's kind of a vague term. Here's the way I would define it now if you're listening. So your level of success, that's how you'd measure fulfillment in any area of life, right? In your health, in your marriage, with your happiness, in your finances, etc. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I think it's fair to say we all want level 10. I've never met anyone that goes, I don't want to be too happy. I don't want to be too financially abundant. I'll just settle for that, right? No, human nature is we aspire to fulfill our potential, right? Self-actualization is a very real aspiration for humans. Most of us sadly settle, and we can talk about why that is, but here's the point. Your level of success, level 10 is what we want, will seldom exceed your level of personal development. I define that as the rituals, routines, and habits that you have in place every day that are enabling you to develop yourself into a better version of who you were yesterday, day after day after day. If you continue with daily personal development and you continue to get better and better and better, or on that scale of 1 to 10, I was at like a 2 or a 3 in 2008. Like my level of personal development, I had bad habits. I was eating terribly. I was sleeping till the last minute. I was staying up late because I was depressed. I was a mess. And I thought theoretically, if I figure out what the world's most successful people do for personal development, and I assemble like the ultimate personal development routine, theoretically, I should be able to go from a 2 or a 3 to a 4, and then a 5. And gradually, day by day, week by week, I could eventually become the level 10 version of me that's capable of creating that level 10 success. And so I went home from that run and I just Googled, I spent like an hour figuring out what do the world's most successful people do for personal growth and development. And I was looking for 1 or 2 practices. I had a list of 6 and I was kind of overwhelmed. And then I thought, well, what if I did all of them? What if I woke up tomorrow like 30 minutes earlier and I did not 1, but the 6 most timeless, proven personal development practices in the history of humanity that the world's most successful people have sworn by for centuries? I thought that would theoretically accelerate me quickly from a 2 or a 3 to a 4, 5, like go fast. And in my mind, Julie, I was estimating 1 year. I thought if I do this every day, 1 year from now, I will be a completely different person that is capable of creating what I want for my life. And I started the next morning. I was consistent every single day. 2 months later, Julie, and this is important because at the height of the 2008 Great Recession, as the economy, so for those 2 months, the economy didn't get better. It got worse and worse and worse. The news was all fear. The economy was crashing. The housing market was crashing. The stock market was crashing, but I was getting better every single day. And I stopped watching the news. I'm like, no, I'm going to focus on what I can control. I can't control the economy. I can't control what's going on in the Washington, D.C. I can only control waking up every day and dedicating time to becoming the best version of myself. And within 2 months, I more than doubled my income at the height of the 2008 Great Recession. And I remember the moment. I remember I was in my office. I signed on a second coaching client for that day. And that officially put me at more than double the income that I was at 2 months prior. And I wanted to go celebrate with my wife. I went and found Ursula. She was folding laundry in the bedroom. I said, sweetheart, I signed on 2 more coaching clients today. And she had no context. So she goes, high five. Good job. Great. I'm excited for you. I said, no, you don't understand. This is monumental because the second coaching client officially put us over more than double where our income was before things started to crash 2 months ago. I'm sorry, before I started the morning routine. So 6 months ago was the income, but 2 months ago, I started the morning routine. I said, it's all because of the morning routine. I'm getting clarity. I have motivation. I have energy. I'm learning how to grow my business all in the morning. I said, it feels like a miracle. And without skipping a beat, she goes, it's your miracle morning. I go, wow. I like that. And then I'll wrap up the story with, I started telling it to my coaching clients. I go, if this worked for me, it would probably work for them. And most of them resisted and said, I'm not a morning person, Hal. I go, no, neither was I. Here's how you beat the snooze button. Here's how you do the saver. Here's how it works. Here's how you get over your limiting belief that you're not a morning person. And 2 weeks later, 13 out of 14 of my coaching clients came to their next coaching call and said, Hal, oh my gosh, the miracle morning works. I'm having the best week in my sales career. I'm doing all 6 of the savers every morning. Like, it's amazing. And that's when the light bulb went off. And I went, if it changed my life and I wasn't a morning person and the miracle morning changed 13 out of 14 coaching clients, that's more than 90%. And most of them said they weren't morning people. I thought, I have a responsibility to share this with the world. I started writing the book. Then eventually the movie came out and now there's an app and now it's in schools and the whole journey unfolded over a decade. It's been 12 years since the book published, but so I'm happy to go anywhere that you want with all of that.
Well, okay, so this is what I see in my clients. I've got a membership and I teach how important it is to have a morning spiritual practice. A lot of times when I'm working with clients one-on-one in a session or my members and they're talking to me about something, Spirit will say they fell off. They're not doing their morning spiritual practice anymore. And, you see it and they feel it. And I think that there's a misconception along a lot of people that you only have to do it for a little while. Like, I'm just going to do it to get on track. No, it is your track. It is the track itself. It's not getting on the track. It is the track.
Yeah. 2 things I'll say I'm so glad that you said that. I was asked, it's been probably a few years. They said, Hal, you created the Miracle Morning because you were at rock bottom, financially, physically, you were in a bad place. And you created it to turn your life around. Well, your life's great now. Right? Why do you keep doing it? What's it about now? And I was like, that's a really interesting question. Like, I've never even reflected, why am I still doing it? And my first answer was, human potential is limitless. Like, when you become the level 10 version of yourself from the day you set out to do it, that's now like level 6, right? Because now you have expanded your abilities and your potential has grown in your capacity, right? You never fulfill your potential. On your deathbed, there will be more you could learn, you could evolve, you could accomplish, right? So that was the first answer. I'm my mission in life, or one of my purposes in life, is to become the best version of myself. And that's a never ending pursuit, right? I'm always trying to be better for myself, for my family, for the people that I love, the people that I lead, you name it. And the Miracle Morning is the most effective practice I've ever found to wake up every day and not only start the day in a peak state so you can win the day, but to just keep learning and getting better. The other thing I would think about, I would use the comparison of like professional athletes. I always think about Michael Jordan as the pinnacle of success. When I was a kid growing up, Michael Jordan was the best athlete in the world, right? Best basketball player and really of any athlete. when he was the best, he didn't stop practicing, right? He didn't stop going to practice, right? In fact, like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, they were usually the first to practice ahead of the guys that weren't even as good as them, and they were the last to leave. And they were right, and that's why they were the best. So to be your best, which is what's going to enable you to create the best life you can, it's about having those daily rituals, the daily routines. And so, yeah, for me, it's my miracle morning is that daily practice.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had a poster of MJ on my wall in the 80s and 90s. And we're from the Chicagoland area and have family
nice.
here. So
Which
my
poster? Do you
grandpa,
remember what it said? Was it just a picture or what did it say?
it was the picture of him with like the white and red shorts and I think the white and red shoes on. And he's like in his like stance that he's about to dunk, like
Nice.
his legs out wide and his arms stretched out. But I remember hearing too that when he went to go film, what was that movie that he did with those little
Space
cartoons?
Jam?
Yes, that he would even practice, like he'd be filming all day, and then he would take like 3 hours with a trainer, just like
Yeah, I remember that.
that was it too. He had a basketball hoop set up, like an entire full-length court set up where they were filming so that he could go practice. That's awesome. So you talked about something earlier, and I hope we can go back to it, but you said we could talk about this later. Why do people settle? Why do they settle?
Yeah. So it's not your fault. Like it's not our fault that we settle. That's my belief. Well, it's our fault if we continue to settle once we're aware of this. All right. So but here's why. And I'm not, this is not my area of expertise in terms of like going back throughout the history of human beings, not my expertise, but I'm going to explain it in the common sense that I understand it, right? Think about like our cavemen and women ancestors. So as human beings, as our brain was right evolving, there was no leaderboard. There was no monetary system where we needed more. Essentially, I imagine that we did enough to get the necessities that we needed to live, food, right? So once the hunter killed the buffalo, he didn't keep hunting to kill more buffalo than his competitor, right? They just sat and enjoyed the buffalo for 3 months and he didn't have to work anymore, right? You know, once you got a harvest, right? You ate the harvest. So we live in a very different world now that is based on accumulation and competition, where you can never create enough, have enough. And it is a fine balance. I'm actually going to counter something I said earlier, which is this idea that we all want level 10, that you can never reach your potential, that self-actualization, that it's important that I give a disclaimer to that, which is, it's not that you're going after achieving more potential because you're not enough. You have to come from a place of, I am perfect exactly as I am, and I want to see what I'm capable of. Right? Not I have to learn, grow, and evolve and become better. And there are some days, by the way, where I'm like, I don't feel like fulfilling my potential today. I'm going to rest on my laurels for a bit. But the point is that as long as you're doing it consciously, because going back to your question, why do we settle for mediocrity? It's in our nature. Human nature is to do the minimum required to survive. And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Like, I would never make a judgment and go, if you do the minimum required to survive. In fact, in some ways, minimalism, and that's a documentary that I'm having my daughter watch here, and we're watching documentaries now. She's 14, and I've ever watched minimalism, right? So to me, it's this balance between waking up every day and being totally in love with yourself, not in an arrogant way, but right, but I love myself the way I would want to love other people or have them love me. I love my life, even though it's got all sorts of challenges and flaws, right? I live in a state of love and joy and peace. And I'm playing this game. Like, that's the way to view achievement. Accumulate. I'm playing this game of how good could I be? Not because I have to, because why not play that game, right? you know, and again, I think that is innate in humans, is this drive and desire to, and maybe that wasn't around when we were cavemen and women. Maybe it evolved as we evolved and society became different. Maybe that innate drive and desire to self-actualize, maybe it wasn't there at day one and it evolved over the last, you know, X amount of centuries. I don't know, but I believe in today's society, I've never been anyone that doesn't go, yeah, I'd like to be better. I'd like to be more emotionally intelligent and have more discipline and have more financial security. Like, sure, of course, right? So if you're willing to play that game, play it from a piece of, or from a place of love and abundance and wholeness, right? And excitement to just see what's possible and play that game.
There is research on that. I know you're a research guy, so you would love this. There's a book, and I'll send it to you afterwards. But what it's about are the chemicals within the brain, and they can tell how people are going to act, and they can even predict what they'll do in certain situations based on which chemical they have more of. And they said because most of our ancestors, like my Italian ancestors, came over on a boat from Italy, my other ancestors actually track back to the Mayflower coming over. And those are your people who had more ADHD within them, that type of chemical that it's kind of tied into. The book explains it much better. So they said that in the United States, we have more people who are doers and shakers and changers because of that chemical from our ancestors and how many people immigrated over versus Europe and different places, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, that is fascinating. Huh.
Yeah. So one of the things that you touched on was a question that I channeled through before we hopped on that I'd really like to go here. There is so much within owning a business today. And I know that not everybody listening owns a business, but a lot of people do, where they want to create something. And it looks so much different today than it did 5 years ago or 10 years ago, where it's constant creation. And you see these people who have these very big teams and they're just doing so much. And I've gotten to the point where I've just decided I don't want all of it. You know, like I want to do the best I can. I want to reach my potential, but I also want to have time to spend with my family, and I just want to breathe, and I just want to be. And I have finally come to the place where, and I don't even know that it's working for everybody within the creator space. I think it's working for some, but I think a lot of people are burning themselves out right now. Where do you see all of this?
Yeah, I this was for me one of the biggest lessons I got from cancer, was quality over quantity in terms of the impact that we make. We all, not we all, but a lot of us are like, oh, I need to change millions of lives. And that was my mindset that led me to do that. But what I realized is I was choosing quantity. I was valuing quantity above quality, meaning I was on this mission to change millions of lives. And so it was okay to work on the weekend instead of hang out with my family. It was, I justified, missing, okay, sweetheart, I tell my wife, you go to that recital or whatever, but I've got to do this thing. And if you would have asked me at the time when I was 37 years old, what's your number one priority in your life? I would have said family, and I would have actually meant it and believed it, and it was a blind spot for me. And then I realized, oh, why? Like, I will never again. And and I shouldn't say never again because, well, that was my intention, but I'm sure I've made the mistake again. Occasionally you get caught up in a project or whatever. But I'm much better than I used to be, much better, radically different. But it was the impact that I can make for those 3 people that I live with is infinitely more important and more valuable to me than making a, whatever impact with millions of people around the world. And so, to your point, I've also gone with like, oh, I need to have a team to reach million. And like, it was just, I'm like, this isn't the lifestyle I want. I'm not good at managing people. That's not my ability. And I hired someone to do it. But just in general, I'm like, I don't want to have to think about all these the CEO type things that I have to worry about. And so I scaled my team back to, a few people. And so, yeah, so, and the other thing the first thing that came to me, so I'll at least share it, is I think that moving forward, trades like being a plumber, being an electrician. I think that those are more valuable than ever, because I know that a lot of people are afraid of how artificial intelligence could replace. I mean, you can write a book in 10 seconds right now. You could say, hey, ChatGPT, write a book on morning routines, but make it different enough from Hal Elrod. I shouldn't say this because I'm putting it out there. Different from Hal Elrod's book, right? That it's not plagiarism. And ChatGPT will pump you out a book in like 60 seconds, an entire book, right? So, and not to mention, or art, right? If you're a graphic designer, and I'm not being a doomsdayer here, but we got to face reality, right? If you're a graphic designer, you can tell ChatGPT, build me an entire website or draw me a picture of blank with whatever you tell it to do, it will do. So my wife and I have actually been talking to my son. He wants to be an author. He published a book called Random Things, I think it's called. He published a book when he was like 9, and now he wants to publish a sequel where I'm editing it for him right now. So I'm all for that. But we've also talked to him about having a trade as a backdrop, because AI is not going to plunge our toilets. AI is going to not, right, or fix our plumbing or fix our electricity. And maybe I'm short-sighted. Maybe AI will. I don't know. Robots will come do it. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know if I answered your question in a few different contexts there.
No, I love it. So did you get rid of the person who oversees all the other people?
No, but she basically went back to her old role. So she has been she started as my intern. Her name is Tiffany. Tiffany started as my intern like almost 10 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. And then when I decided to build a team, I said, hey, you need to learn how to be a COO, read these books, take these courses. So she became the chief operations officer for our business. And then, and now we still have a few people on the team. So she still does have the role of overseeing them. But it's the minimum amount of people that I need to function. And they're almost all people that aren't requiring me to be in me. They're working behind the scenes, and so I don't have to even think about it. For me, it's so stressful to be like, oh, this person's waiting on answers. And I'm a very indecisive person. I'm like, oh, they're waiting on answers and decisions. I don't know, but wait, they are. And then they need this from me, and they need videos from me. And I'm like, I can't, like, literally my mental health was like, it's not good. It's not good. So
no, I totally get that. And then I start to feel like, well, shouldn't they just be able to go do that? But a lot of times they can't, because it comes from you as the origin who's creating all of this content, and it's in your head. No, I totally get that. When it comes to the miracle morning, I saw a post online recently where a woman was doing this with her son, and it didn't even occur to me, but when do you recommend that parents introduce the miracle morning to their kids?
Yeah, so I started with my kids when they were probably 4-ish. And we just started listening to guided meditations in the car. So it was very, kind of loose. And then when they got older, we did like Miracle Morning 30-day challenges where they were, when they were like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And there's a great YouTube channel, Cosmic Kids Yoga. And it's this gal that dresses up and she uses graphics and like has cartoons. And I mean, it's really cool. So we would do Cosmic Kids Yoga together. Now my kids are teens and preteens, and they will have nothing to do with the Miracle Morning. I am hoping that changes at some point. In fact, my son would probably do it. In fact, I think he actually will. But my daughter's the 14-year-old, dad, don't stop shoving the Miracle Morning down my throat. And it's a fine balance, because I'm like, and I think it's because I'm the creator. It's like when your spouse tells you something and you're like, yeah. And then somebody else tells you the same thing. You're like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I should do that, right? And then you tell your spouse and they're like, she's like, I told you that 1,000,000 times. So the fact that I'm the creator, I'm the author, they hear me talking about it all the time. I'm trying to be at peace with it, because I don't want it to be something where she resents it because I pushed it too hard. Right.
Yeah.
So, however, there is a book in the Miracle Morning series called The Miracle Morning for Parents and Families, co-authored by me and Mike and Lindsay McCarthy. They have gotten their kids to do the Miracle Morning for years consistently, more effectively than I have. And they've got it really dialed in. So I asked them, they're friends of mine, I asked them to co-author the Miracle Morning for Parents and Families, and then that walks you through it, and it gives you, I mean, it gives you actionable ways for the kids to hold themselves accountable and charts to monitor the savers, but it's been really effective. Like their kids aren't allowed screens or anything until they've done their savers, checked them off, shown their parents, but their parents don't have to chase after them. They do it on their own because that's the only way they can get the other things that they want, which is like to watch TV or play a video game or whatever.
All right. So this has to have come up for you before, but I'm 42 going through perimenopause, and it is so much harder to wake up in the morning now than it was for me when I was younger. Have you seen anything? And, men's hormones shift too. Men start to lose testosterone, which gives them less energy. Is there anything that you've seen with this of how do you just get yourself to wake up if you're so groggy in the morning?
Yeah. So I'm 44 years old. So I've gone through 700 hours of chemotherapy. So my body is not what it used to be. So I can relate and sympathize. I mean, here's what I would say. I would go back to what I shared in the Miracle. So the Miracle Morning has an updated and expanded edition. For those that don't know, I just published it in December, just a few months ago, and it has 70 pages of brand new content. So if you're watching this is or I guess it's behind me as well, but this is the new edition, and it has 40 pages of new chapters, the Miracle Evening and the Miracle Life, as well as a bunch of new content for the savers. And I rewrote almost every page of the book. So there's that. In the book, I added a new chapter called the Miracle Evening, and the subtitle of that chapter is Your Strategy for Blissful Bedtime and Better Sleep. And I've said this for a long time, but I didn't have this robust of an evening routine when I said it, is that the Miracle Morning starts the night before. And it starts primarily with your intention. And here's a way to think about it. Whatever your last thought is that you dwell on before bed is almost always whatever it becomes the first thought you have in the morning, right? If you're going in your head, you're, oh my gosh, I've got this big presentation tomorrow. I'm so stressed. I'm so worried about it. Right. And then as soon as you wake up, you're like, oh God, today is Tuesday. I've got that presentation. Right. Or on a positive spin, like, I don't know if did you celebrate Christmas as a kid growing up?
Yeah.
Okay, so did I. So think about it as a kid. The last thing you're thinking is, oh my God, tomorrow's Christmas. Santa's coming. I'm going to get presents. I'm so excited. And then what's your first thought in the morning? It's Christmas. You jump out of bed. You run out of bed. Now, I want you to think about this. If you go to bed, the first example I gave you, thinking about something that you're stressed about, that happened that day, that you're worried about tomorrow, the general state of the world, right? If you go to bed and your emotional state is suboptimal, stressful, whatever, or even just unintentional, it could be neutral. Well, then the first thought and the emotional state that you're going to wake up to is either negative or unintentional. And that's not going to pull you out of bed. The way that going to bed with the thought and the emotions of Christmas morning are going to pull you out of bed. Let me ask you a question, Julie. Was it hard for you to wake up on Christmas morning as a kid?
Never.
Was it dependent on how many hours of sleep you got the night before, or the quality of REM sleep that you got?
No.
It was 100% dependent on what you focused on as you were falling asleep. And you generated a positive intention for the morning. And when I had that aha moment, when I was writing the original Miracle Morning book, I was like, wait, I should be able to recreate that experience of waking up Christmas morning if I'm intentional about it. So in the new edition of the book, I added so there's that Miracle Evening chapter. It walks you through 7 steps to prepare yourself for blissful sleep, and then sets you up with an affirmation. There is a bedtime affirmation that you read before bed that optimizes your mindset so that you're preparing yourself, that your last thought and the last emotional state you dwell in is the one that pulls you out of bed with excitement and energy first thing in the morning. But again, it's your responsibility. If you don't read the affirmations and you're not intentional before bed, then you're just leaving it up to chance how you feel in the morning. And the odds are you're going to feel the way you normally feel when you don't have intention about how you fall asleep.
Ooh, I love this. I think that's one of the best things I've ever heard. I am going to try that and report back to everybody on it. I want to ask you this. You've seen so many people's lives change through this process of the miracle morning. Can you tell us some bigger stories to just give that motivation of here's what you can expect if you use the miracle morning?
Yeah. And there really are, I mean, there's 30,000 reviews on Amazon that are profound. You're like, oh my God, how could I pick one story? So here's where I'll get these stories from. So the Miracle Morning movie, I think I mentioned that we made a documentary that took 6 years to film. That movie, the first hour of it focused on, it wove like successful, famous people, like best-selling authors like Mel Robbins and Brendan Burchard and Robert Kiyosaki. And we went and interviewed them. We're like, hey, what's your morning routine? Why is it important? Right. So there was that, but then we wove in stories of people who had read the book and it transformed their lives. Just, what you'd call, I don't think anybody's ordinary, but you know what I mean? Like ordinary people that weren't famous authors or whatever. And so some of my favorite stories from the movie, one is Mike Eaton. Mike Eaton was obese his entire life. In fact, there's a scene in the movie where he's jumping off a 40-foot cliff and doing a belly flop, which could have killed him because all his friends are razzing him. And he was so overweight and so insecure and so unhappy that he would do anything for attention. And he had tried to lose weight in every way that he could. He tried diets, this and that. His friend recommended the Miracle Morning, not for weight loss, but just in general. And Mike applied all 6 of the savers he goes, this is it. This is the answer. This is how I'm going to finally lose the weight. And in a matter of months, I can't remember if it was 4 months or 6 months, he lost 80 pounds. 80 pounds. And I love that example. It's an inspiring story when you see how, Mike talk about it. But I love the example because the Miracle Morning is not a weight loss book. It's how do you become the person that you need to be to achieve anything that you want for your life book. Mike used it to lose 80 pounds. Another example is Keith Minnick. He was the former director of broadcasting, I think. I might have the title wrong, but for Turner Home Broadcasting, or like senior production manager. I forgot his title, but he was like a head honcho at Turner Home Broadcasting. And his wife gave birth to their son, and 3 hours later, their son died. And it sent him into a deep, deep, deep depression. And he also he hated his work. He hated his life. He was deeply depressed. And in the movie, and it's also actually, I put his story in the new edition of the Miracle Morning. It's one of the opening stories because it's so profound. He said that he had read books on grief, nothing worked. A friend recommended the Miracle Morning, and he said the very first Miracle Morning that he did, he had this awakening called channeling, spiritual awakening. But he realized, wait, I don't have to be depressed anymore. From this day forward, I can choose the mental and emotional state that would best serve me. And I'm going to be at peace, and I'm going to be grateful, and I'm going to be happy. And so in the book, I share a story where he says, the very first Miracle Morning totally changed his life. And now it's been almost 10 years, and he's done it virtually every single day. So just like me, he keeps evolving and he keeps growing. And now he left his company, his job that he was not happy with, and he started his own business, and he's thriving financially, and his marriage is thriving. And he attributes it all, or a lot of it, to the Miracle Morning. So again, I encourage anybody, if you want to order the Miracle Morning book on Amazon, of course, it'll change your life. But then immediately you can go to miraclemorning.com. You can watch the movie for free. You can download the app for free. You can get started before the book even arrives.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. So one last question for you. I'm sure Spirit is always working on bringing new things and lessons into your life. What is Hal Elrod really learning this year and right now?
Ooh, that is a great question. What am I learning this year? Well, without going into too much detail, in 2020, obviously that was a year that nobody forgets. Yeah. But in December of 2019, I slept for about 2 hours one night, and I don't know why I couldn't sleep, and I was like anxious and weird. It's like something in my brain snapped, And I had done over 700 hours of chemotherapy up until that point. And I think my brain had deteriorated to where it just like it blew a fuse. And imagine if you sleep 2 hours one night, you're a mess the next day. That went on 2 to 4 hours a night on average for 6 months. And I started hallucinating. My mental health went from probably an 8 to like a 1, where I contemplated suicide every single day. And a lot of what in the Miracle Evening chapter, I share that story and I share what I did to overcome it, which is what the Miracle Evening routine is. But you fast forward to today, and I have a traumatic brain injury from my car accident combined with the chemotherapy. And so every day is a struggle for me. And so what I'm learning right now, after being like, why, God, why is this happening to me? It's been 3 years already. Why is my brain not back to normal? I've tried everything. I don't know what to do. And in full transparency, I occasionally go there when I'm really struggling with my cognitive function. But here's the point. It's a lesson that we all know. It's a lesson that I've lived, and I've had a hard time these last few years living it. And I think that it's because most people struggle to live it. And I feel like I have to go through what other people are going through so that I can empathize with them, so that I can help them. Like, that's just my belief, right? I go through difficult things so I can overcome it and help others. So long answer to your question. What's going through now is, how can I love my brain exactly as it is? I want it to get better, yes. But how can I be at peace with my brain? Like, I know better. I teach people, be at peace with what you can't change. Be at peace with your life as it is while you're working to make it better. And so for me, it's, how can I love the brain I have while I keep being proactive about trying to make it better? How can I be happy and enjoy my life, even though I'm struggling every single day with my mental and emotional abilities and my cognitive function and all of my memory and my processing and all of that? It's really difficult. And I can either let that define my reality and I can be miserable, which I've been guilty of being at times for the last few years. What's coming up for me now, though, is no more. It's time to enjoy this one life that we've been blessed to live, even though we're facing challenges, and we all have unique challenges. We have our cross to bear. Yours might be financial. Someone else's might be in their marriage. For me, it's my mental and emotional, my cognitive ability, whatever it is. Let's wake up every day. Let's remind ourselves during our miracle morning that, hey, yes, I got challenges, but I only get one life. I have people that are depending on me to show up at my best. So I'm going to show up at my best today. I'm going to love the life I have while I create the life of my dreams. And I'm not going to make any excuses as to why I can't or won't do that.
Amazing. But I want you to tell everybody where they can find you and where they can find the Miracle Morning.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. miraclemorning.com is the hub for everything. So again, you can go straight to Amazon or barnesandnoble.com, buy the book or whatever. But if you go to miraclemorning.com, from there, you can click and you can watch the movie. You can click, it'll take you to buy the book. And then I will take a second or a few seconds to mention, the Miracle Morning app is the most requested resource that we've had for like a decade. And last year, we finally, after years of development, we finally released like the one-stop app, because everybody was like, I use a meditation app, then I use a visualization app, then I use an affirmations app, then I have a journaling app, then I have a reading app, right? Kindle. And so for us, we're like, oh my God, it's so much to wrap our heads around to make the all-in-one app that does everything. And so we created that. There's a premium version that's like $5 a month, $60 a year, that has hundreds of guided savers tracks where all you do is click a button and it leads you through a miracle morning. Then the free version of the app has all the essentials, a built-in journal, affirmations creator, and it has one Savers 101 guided miracle morning. And the reason I'm saying all this is the easiest way to do miracle morning is download the free version of the app. If you want to upgrade, that's up to you. But go to activities and there's a Savers experiences. There's a Savers 101 track. Literally just tomorrow morning or now, you can do it now, hit play. And in, I think it's 11 or 13 minutes long, it will guide you through all 6 of the savers without you having to figure any of them out. You don't have to think, okay, I have to meditate now. Wait, now I have to do affirmations. Okay, now, wait, how do I do that? Am I doing it wrong? No, you click play and 13 minutes later, you've done your first miracle morning, and you can repeat that every day, or you can start evolving it and making it your own practices.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh my goodness. Well, Hal, thank you so much for being on the show. I so appreciate you and the beautiful work that you put out into this world.
Ditto, Julie. Thank you so much for having me.
I'd love to work with you if it resonates. Book a reading to get messages from your angels right away, or join my membership or my Angel Reiki Mediumship School. What's the difference? The Angel Reiki Mediumship School certifies you in mediumship, angel messages, and energy healing all at once. Some join simply to develop all of their unique spiritual gifts to the max, and others want to start their own spiritual business. Both are perfect. You can take the Angel Reiki Mediumship School online with Zoom meetings or in person in Oak Brook, Illinois in November or April. Bonus, when you register for the in-person Angel Reiki Mediumship School today, you also get the 8-week online program free with Zoom meetings included. So you can literally start today. How is that different from my membership? My membership gives you everything you need to care for and nourish your soul. The fact is, our world neglects the soul. Most people only attend to their own soul when they have a big life crisis. But your soul is not a problem to be solved. Your soul is starving to be seen, heard, nourished, and cared for. Your soul is speaking to you and it wants you to hear it. That's what my membership does. It nourishes your soul. It shows you there is an entire universe living within you, how you can access your own angels, messages, and live a life of wonder, magic, enchantment, and miracles. At your request, we've changed the membership so that you can join anytime, any month. You can purchase readings, the school, my membership, all over at theangelmedium.com. As we close today, ask your angels to be with you and allow these messages to speak to your heart. Your angels say you are connected to the universe, and the universe is connected to you. All you ever need is within you right now at this very moment. Stay true to yourself. Don't betray yourself by going against the intuitive feelings you get. Trust your own inner wisdom. Why? The world needs you. The world needs you to dream big and for you to discover what's possible for yourself. Step into the energy of all that you are. Smile, laugh, and allow your heart to be healed. Ask your angels to bring you big, big miracles, prosperity, and to open big doors. Believe in miracles. You have a big purpose, and friends, inspiration is everywhere. Everywhere you look, there are people in need of help, love, and support. Find a way to be of service. Start right now by asking yourself, what good shall I do this day? Love is who you are. Joy is your nature. Remember, God only ever has 3 answers to your prayers. Yes, not yet, or I have something so much better in mind you can't possibly believe it. Nothing is impossible, and nothing can stop your determined soul from succeeding. Now go about your day and expect the most wonderful things to happen.